Welcome to The Explainer. Today we're tackling a huge, fundamental question, one that feels, more urgent than ever. Why should we even bother to be good?
I mean, really think about it. In a world that so often feels like a competition, where individualism is king, and it seems like everyone's just out for themselves, why should any of us go out of our way to be good? It's a surprisingly tricky question when you get right down to it.
You hear people describe modern society this way all the time, right? As a place with these vast differences in power and wealth, where relationships can feel purely transactional, maybe even a little fake. So in a world like that, where does the good even fit in?
To start answering that question, let's actually rewind a bit. Before we get into all the complex philosophy, let's look at our own nature as a species. Where does this impulse to be good even come from in the first place?
Well, from a really pragmatic, evolutionary point of view, being good is basically a survival mechanism. We're social creatures. We depend on each other. Antisocial behavior gets you isolated or kicked out of the group. But pro-social behavior, helping each other out, helps the group survive. And if the group survives, you survive. So in a way, a basic form of good is just baked right into our biology.
Okay, so building on that biological foundation, thinkers throughout history have given us these powerful frameworks for understanding the good. You can think of them as different kinds of maps for navigating our moral world. So let's dive in and take a look at 5 of them.
We're going to explore 5 really distinct positions that each give a totally different answer to our big question. We'll look at the sound of our own conscience, the idea of goodness as a gift, freedom that comes from duty, compassion for suffering, and finally, the power of our authentic will. First up, René Descartes. He suggests we all have this kind of internal moral compass. He imagines it as a sound of conscience, something that exists purely in our minds. He said this inner bell is always there, questioning our actions and pointing us towards something better. And Descartes believed that even when we consciously choose to do harm, even in the mind of a killer, that little bell is still there, ringing away. You can't turn it off.
So the really crucial point for Descartes is that this sense of right and wrong isn't something we just learn from the outside world. Nope, it's a fundamental part of our own minds, an inescapable feature of being a thinking person.
Okay, let's shift gears to a totally different framework. This one sees the good not as something we create ourselves, but as something we receive and then have to pass on. And it all starts with the gift of life itself.
The argument here is that since our very existence is a gift, something we didn't earn, the only way to truly honor it is by passing that good forward. And we do that through acts of love, help, and compassion, which are all forms of sacrifice given freely without ever expecting anything back.
This beautifully illustrates that the good isn't something you're supposed to gain for yourself, but something you're supposed to give away. In this view, being good is really about participating in the ongoing gift of life itself. Now, for a much more logical, almost systematic approach from the philosopher Immanuel Kant. He grounds morality not in feelings or in gifts, but in pure reason and a sense of duty. Kant asks us to do a little thought experiment. Just imagine for a second, what if everyone lied all the time? Or what if everyone stole or betrayed each other? Society would just collapse, right? Trust would be totally impossible, and nobody's freedom would be safe. So for Kant, being good is a rational duty. It's just logical. Acting truthfully and justly is the only way to guarantee a world where everyone can be free and autonomous. It's a choice, but it's a choice grounded in reason. Now, in stark contrast to that, we have Arthur Schopenhauer. His view isn't rooted in reason at all, but in the inherent pain and struggle of existence. Yeah, it's a much more pessimistic place to start. He basically argues that since the world naturally tends towards decay and things falling apart, it's already filled to the brim with suffering. So in his view, the absolute highest good we can possibly achieve is to just not add to that pile of suffering. So for Schopenhauer, goodness is all about empathy. It's about trying to understand the struggles of others and doing what you can to alleviate their pain. And sometimes, he argued, the best action is no action at all if it avoids causing even more harm. And finally, we get to the great challenger himself, Friedrich Nietzsche. He comes along and pretty much throws all the old rules out the window, calling for a new, more personal, and frankly more dangerous form of the good. That phrase you see, ecce homo, it means behold the man. Nietzsche uses it to argue that we have to embrace humanity exactly as it is, with all its flaws, its horrors, and its beauty. For him, the good isn't about following some external rulebook. It's about the authentic, powerful expression of your own individual nature.
What's so fascinating here is the suggestion that good isn't a rule you follow, but a nature you live out. It's this really radical call for self-realization, completely free from the dogmas of the past. So when you look at them all together, you can see 5 completely different maps. We've got an inner bell in our minds, a gift we have to share, a duty we must uphold, a suffering we should soothe, and a will we have to express. You can even see the tension, right? Kant's universal rule versus Nietzsche's individual will. These are 5 very different paths, all leading to the same destination, a reason to be good. After exploring all these powerful ideas, the ultimate takeaway isn't that you have to pick just one. It's that the potential for good in all of these different forms is already woven into our existence, from our very biology to our consciousness. Each of these frameworks is just a different lens, a different way to see the good that we all try to do every day. So the final question really isn't just why be good? In a world that needs it more than ever, the real question is how will you choose to be good?